Okay. Good evening, everybody. Uh, I would like to introduce you to our speaker today. He has been working as a senior industry intern at iSmriti Incubated at IIT Kanpur. He is currently serving as a chair of IEEE RAS PSIT student branch chapter. He has been a mentor to the students, and now he is there to present you a topic on introduction to IoT and smart robotics. I would like my friend Suraj Jaiswal to take over the session now.
Uh, Thank you so much, Sushant, for your kind and warm welcome. I hope I am audible to everyone.
Yes, Suraj, you are.
Uh, okay. So I hope you all are doing good during this quarantine and you are benefiting this current quarantine period. So basically, our topic today is introduction to IoT and smart robotics.
हाँ, good
So
evening.
first, I would like to tell you that what inspired me to give this webinar
सर
to
आपको
the
WhatsApp किया
students,
देखिए.
because I started working on IoT and robotics from past
अच्छा
2 years.
सर
And when I
देखिए
worked,
मुझे
I
एक बार
got an
WhatsApp.
opportunity to
ठीक
work
है.
with
सर
the
मैंने इससे
professors of
PPT भेज दिया था.
IIT, and I have been working as a senior industry intern at iSmithy from past 1 year. And I have also worked on various industrial projects also. So that was all possible just because I have that extra uh, a technology stack of IoT. So that benefited me a lot, and it is also boosting my career also, and it is also helping me to learn new technologies and new things. So I hope this webinar will give you a good start to how that you should start learning this kind of technology, and you will get introduced to it. So let's start with our presentation. So the first question arises: what is IoT? So basically, in simpler words, if we talk what is IoT, it is just a network of devices or sensors which are connected through a network, and they exchange some kind of data or information between them. And if I give you an example, the most common device which you use is your mobile phones, in which there are various sensors like gyroscope sensor, accelerometer, GPS, etc. And it uses your cellular data, that is your mobile internet, to send or exchange information. So this is the most commonly used device, you can IoT device which we use nowadays. And if you talk about this like exact formal definition, so it is same like it is the network of physical object devices that may be vehicles, buildings, embedded electronics, softwares, and network connectivity that enables these objects to collect and exchange data. So now the question arises that what like we have learned that what is IoT. So now the next question arises: why should we learn IoT? So if you can see this, so in 2003, the world population was around 6.3 billion, and the number of connected devices were 500 million. So on an average, you can say almost zero point zero 0.08 devices were connected to the per person. But if you look at the current scenario, that is 2020, that is the world population is 7.6 billion, which hasn't changed much. But if you look at the connected devices, it has changed from 500 million to 50 billion. And then on average, there are almost 6 to 7 devices connected to each and every person. So you can say that more devices are there than people. And if we look in today's term, that 5G has also came. So this IoT is going to emerge as a new trending technology, which it is already, but still a lot of scope is coming in near future. The next come things like I will show you some facts that IoT professional in India receive almost, you can say, 76% higher salaries than IT professionals. Like the regular programmers you can call, or the regular IT professional jobs in India, you have, you can gain almost 76% higher salaries if you have this kind of skill in your CV. Not only IoT, if you talk about other skills also like AI, blockchain, these kind of technologies which are just you can say, used in industry 4.0. If you have these kind of skills, you will almost get a higher package than the regular professionals get, IT professionals get. And if you look at in the scenario of USA, that an IoT engineer gets almost $130,000 per year in the United States. So if we talk about in INR, it's almost 1 crore per year. So that's quite a big amount for a freshman engineer. And like if you are joining just after your fourth year, and if you are getting such a big amount, so that is a very good thing. And as I said, that it is going to be the biggest tech trends which is going to emerge in recent years. And as I said, that 5G has already arrived and in use. So this is something very good. And according to global data, the IoT market is going to reach about $318 billion by 2023. So that is very true. If you look at the current scenario of this pandemic COVID-19, so this is something where like things like IoT is being applied so that social distancing is maintained. So if you look at the solutions, like different apps are used to track people, these kind of things are used, and this is helping only. So if we talk about the upcoming years, maybe healthcare is a good like a market for IoT also. Now let's see how an IoT system actually works. So basically it has four major components in it. The first one is sensors, second one is connectivity, third one is data processing, and fourth one is the user interface. So talking briefly about them, sensors is something which is used to collect data. Connectivity is used to send the data to the cloud, and then at the cloud the data is made useful for us and some processing is done on it. And at the last we have a user interface so that we can observe the values of the sensors, and we can also give some instructions to the sensors. So now let's study in detail about all these four components. So the first one is sensor. So sensor or devices are actually used to collect data from their environment and give us some values. So this particular task could be very simple, like a reading of a temperature, or it can be very complex as a full video feed, like the CCTV cameras installed in our houses or places where they are installed. And specifically I mentioned these words sensors or devices. So the basic difference between them is, like, the sensors are the individual entities, and when you combine many sensors together they form a particular device. So the best example is your mobile phone itself. If you see the mobile phone, it has various individual sensors in it, like camera, accelerometer, gyroscope sensor, and GPS, and etc. But if it is a combination of all the sensors all together, and therefore it is called a device. So this is the first stage where you get some information or data, as we mentioned earlier. And once we get the data from this particular stage, we move on to the next stage, that is the connectivity part. So now let us understand what connectivity actually is. So connectivity is used to send information from sensor to the cloud storage, or you can say from one place to the another place. So connectivity can be of various types, like cellular, satellite, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, LAN, or it can be directly using an Ethernet also. So now one question arises, that what kind of connectivity should we use? So the answer to this question is that it totally depends upon your application, because each connectivity has its own advantages and disadvantages. So if I tell you that satellite has a very good strength of connectivity, and it also covers a very wide range. The bandwidth is also good, but if we talk about power consumption, that is also very high. But if we talk about the Wi-Fi, the bandwidth is around 2.4 gigahertz. The range is short, but the power consumption is also low. And if I try to relate it with the example, like if you want to monitor a whole country, then obviously we need a network which has a wider range. So we will go and opt for the satellite connectivity. But if I say that you have to send information from one room to the another room, so the range is very small, so you do not need satellite for it. You can do it easily with the Wi-Fi signals. So that is enough for it, because the range is good and power consumption is also very small, so it will work in that condition also, or in that kind of application. So now once the information has reached the cloud storage, now it's time to move on to our third step, and that third step was data processing. Now once we have received the information on a cloud storage, we need to check that whether that received information is correct or not, or whether it is in the acceptable range or not. So like if we talk about temperature, and if you have set that the temperature should not be like it should be in the range of 0 to 50 degrees Celsius, and if you receive any values other than this acceptable range, then it should discard this value, because it will always save your storage and it will never give this absurd values to the front end user. And the other example which I took earlier was that if you receive a full video feed, so what if we do not want a full video feed, we only want a particular object or a particular area of that particular video feed. So we will just do some kind of algorithm or some kind of machine learning on it, and we will just crop that particular area which we require, and then only we will send that particular information to the front end user. So a very common example of this can be the e-challans nowadays. So you can see that only the number plate is cropped from that particular video feed, and nothing else. So that is something which is applied practically also nowadays. So this data processing part is very useful to save the time also, and to avoid giving absurd values to the user. So now the part comes that how should that user interact with that particular sensor, or for that we need a user interface. So basically it was our fourth and last component of our IoT system. So user interface is something which a front end user always uses, where you can finally see the information or data received from the sensor. So let us take an example that if you have a fire sensor at your home, and it detects some kind of fire, so it can send an alert to you in form of various methods, like it can be an email alert or text or a notification alert. So this is something which is called a one-way interaction with the sensor. And it might be possible that your communication with the sensor is a two-way. So for two-way communication with the sensor, let's take the another example that was we were taking earlier also, that was a CCTV camera. So if you are simply watching a video feed of your CCTV camera on your mobile phone, so basically it's just a one-way communication. But what if you can control your the direction and angle of the camera using your mobile phone only? So that is a two-way communication, as you can also give instructions from your side to the sensor. So this kind of user interface can be a web GUI also, or it can be a mobile application also. So later on I will tell you that how can you easily build these kind of web GUIs for your various IoT projects. So that might help you to know that without coding also that you can make these kind of GUIs. Now let us talk about the future and potential of IoT. As I already told you earlier, that there are almost 7 devices connected to a particular person, and it is only going to increase day by day as we are advancing in technology. So before starting with it, let us see this quote. If we think that internet has made our life easier and changed it completely, then it's time to think over again, because IoT is going to change it all over again. We all see that how the internet has changed our experience. And if I talk about the way IoT is being developed nowadays, our life is going to experience something more better and improved than we experienced by the internet. So here are some the points. So the first one is making the houses and cities smart. So all the cities, you can see that governments are also taking initiatives that they are converting the cities into smart cities. So what they are doing is they are using various kind of technologies, like they are trying to automate the process of e-challans and automatic detection of number plates, and they can just directly send out challans if you break the rule. Another example which you can see nowadays, it is not being applied, but it is like in development, that if you do not wear helmets, you can easily be identified and a fine can be charged on you. So this is something which is also boosting that this IoT is going to become more popular in coming future. The second point is taking data analytics to a new level. So talking about AI and ML, so this is also boosting with AI, like boosting with IoT. So if we talk about AI, when we start doing AI or ML algorithm, our first question is that what kind of data are we using, or what is the data set? So what IoT actually does is it does the data aggregation or collection part. So all kind of information, data which we need for various algorithms, we get it from the various IoT. You can see that there are various sites or various methods due to which we predict what would be the weather in future. So how it is done? A lot of data is accumulated from the past, and then they predict the future. So for that we need various kind of sensors, and that would only be possible if we have Internet of Things. The third one is better healthcare. So if we look at current situation of this COVID pandemic, so better healthcare, you can see that social distancing is important for us now. So for that we need that the things should become touchless, and we should not directly interact with the things, especially at the public places. So this is something is going to change in coming future, and not too far. Maybe in a year you can see these kind of products flooding in market. So this pandemic has also taught us that how we can utilize this particular technology, and can prevent us from this particular disease in coming future. The fourth point is better resource management. So better resource management, like if we talk about a particular industry, so let's talk about, like I will give you an example. Like in Japan, what happens is they have an habit of collecting the information or data of their whole factory, or you can say. So let us take an example of a water pump factory. So what they do is they collect the information from various sensor and collect the data of the water pumps. And now what they do is they apply various kind of AI algorithms, and they try to predict that when their particular water pump will stop working or fail. So this is something which is called predictive maintenance. So how it is helpful for them? So rather than stopping their work, if they can already predict in advance that this particular water pump is going to is going to stop, so they can proactively act and just repair that particular water pump without halting their work. So this is how they are using their resources fully. So their time is saved, and also their money and their resources are also saved. So this is the one of the most best example. Last year also our Indian government also released a problem statement that they need something like this for the railway tracks. So what they want, that if we know that this particular railway track is going to crack or something like that, so they can change the track in advance only, because this halts the trains from working, and delays the train. So if they could predict it in advance, that would be very helpful for them. But then again the question arises, do we have data for it? So as for now the answer is no, we do not have the data for it. But soon If you look it as an opportunity, you can develop various methods using which you can collect these kind of data and information. Just collecting the data is also a very important part of IoT. So if you collect that data, then only AI can be applied to it and we can benefit it. And the last part is edge computing over cloud computing. So what happens in this is, like, rather than putting load on our cloud servers, what we do is we try to put a small device near our sensor, so that a partial processing or refining of that particular information data can be done over there only, and then only the refined data is sent to the cloud. So what this will do is, this will save your time also, and this will also reduce the load on your server, and you can better utilize your server on other applications. And the data which you get on the server is totally refined. So this is something which is called edge computing, and for that various edge devices are also now available these days. We will talk about them in the session later. So this is something all about IoT, introduction to IoT. Now let's come to the part of smart robotics. So before starting with smart robotics, I tell you that later in the session we will cover that what are the various platforms and how you should start learning IoT. So now let's start with smart robotics. So earlier we used to see in the movies, like science fiction movies, that what are smart robots. Like movies like Iron Man, we see that it can like manage whole industry. We do not have such robots right now. Maybe in upcoming future we have, but yes, we do have smart robots. So already humanoids and many other such kinds of robots are available and used in the industries also. So if I try to tell you that what is basically a smart robot, so before starting it with, we should know that what is a robot. So earlier what we used to do is that a particular robot used to do a particular task only for which it is programmed. So only some programmed or pre-given instructions it used to perform. But what if a situation is something dynamically or which is changing rapidly, then it won't adapt to that situation and don't act according to it, and it will fail. So this was the basic need, that we need something like smart robots. So how we did that, we with the help of like AI and ML, we try to train and teach the robots using various kind of data, or you can say that the robots start learning from its environment. So with the help of AI, you can say that we gave a kind of brain to the robots, so that they can act and adapt according to their dynamic environment. So if I try to relate this with a real life example, when a new baby is born, he or she doesn't know how to speak, but as they grow up, they realize that what they should speak and how they should behave. So that is, so how they do, so they actually try to replicate, or you can say they try to learn from the environment. So whatever their native language is, which they hear from their parents and relatives, they try to speak that. And as they grow also, their character is something which you can say replicates their environment. Same thing is with the robots. So robots also try to replicate, or you can say that whatever they are like behaving, it's totally that the way we have taught them or the way they have learned. And as in life, sometimes an unusual situation arrives that we are also not able to act. Similarly, it might be possible that such situation arrives which didn't came earlier or which hasn't been taught to the bot, then they will also fail. So this was something like what smart robots are. And the industry of smart robots is boosting day by day. And you can see that it's not only in like practical or in use in labs, they are already used in industries also. And this AI, IoT and smart robotics all are related all together. So, as you all have seen this video, so this particular bot is known as Spot, and
ठीक
it
है
is
सर।
developed by
हाँ सर,
Boston
मैं अभी देख रहा था कि
Dynamics.
प्री ट्रेन
So,
वाले में
basically,
कैसे
it is
आप
a robotics company established at
हाँ हाँ
MIT. So, like
ठीक है
at
सर।
MIT, it was first like whenever we imagined about smart robots,
हाँ सर, अगर हम
MIT
लोग एक
already
C2 रख
started
देंगे सर
working
तो
on it
इसकी जगह पे
like more
नॉर्मल
than 20 years
तो
back.
अच्छा
So
MI
finally,
मतलब
they have
प्रोसेसर अच्छी नहीं
developed
देगी,
many
सिक्योरिटी अच्छी
kind
नहीं
of
देगी।
these smart robots, and
सिस्टम था
this
हमारे।
Spot is one of them, which
आर्डिनो
is
सर उतना ज़्यादा
like being
सर्वर लोड नहीं ले
deployed and
सकता,
is
रास्पबेरी
being
पाई भी नहीं उसके
available
लिए सूट होती, कितना
to
प्रोसेसर
like
करा लेंगे आप,
sale.
और स्लो
So you
रहता है।
can see this smart bot. The
गूगल का जो कोडिंग
surface
मोड
was
होता है
not
उसमें सर
even,
वो
uneven
20 से 30
surface was
चलती है,
there,
रास्पबेरी पाई
and you
होता
can
है ना
see
20
that
से
a
30।
situation was there when one bot was helping the another bot. So
ठीक
that
है,
is something that they
ठीक है सर,
have
ठीक है।
a particular kind of brain inside them, or thinking power, according to which they can take decision and dynamically perform all kind of actions according to the environment. So, and you can see that this would help so many things, like if we talk about the oil mines in these kind of places where it's very hard for humans and very harsh conditions are there, so it will be very helpful for us. If these kind of robots are developed and they are performing these kind of uh, tasks. So earlier it was like that these kind of bots were used in traditional industries only, the automation industries only. But if we talk about today's scenario, healthcare, retail, agriculture, logistics, banking, each and every industries want them to be automated, and they want smart bots, smart robots, so that they can save time, they can save their resources, and they can utilize more of their resource. And if I talk about the future of smart robotics, so it is one of the six innovation accelerators, as uh, like predicted by International Data Corporation. And if we talk about in coming future, so at least 30% of their bots will be connected to cloud platform. So you can say this IoT and robotics, they work together. So this is something very good. So many people ask this question, that if we have robots in industries, so the jobs will be less for humans. So is this something good or bad? So if I talk that the role of humans can never be like skipped, as I gave you an example, that if something unusual situation arrives which a bot has never been taught, doesn't matter how smart he is, he will never be able to perform that particular task. So at that moment, you need humans. So I would, what I like is that bots and humans should work together, collaborate, uh, and then they should work together. That would be more better rather than just leaving each and everything on robots. Now, coming on to the next part, the industry 4.0. As I already told you, we are living in the era of industry 4.0, and in coming future, this will just boost only. So, if we look in our past, so we started from steam engine, that was industry 1.0. Then, when electricity was invented, and the next uh, technologies were developed, we have industrial revolution, that was industry 2.0, that mass productions and assembly lines were done. Then after 80s we come to industry 3.0, like when there were computers were invented, and these kinds of uh, things were developed. And if we talk about today's present time, we have those each and everything smart autonomous systems, and things are becoming more useful and beneficial for us. So now let us come to the applications of IoT and smart robotics. So as I already told you, that I have worked on many industrial projects. So some of the industrial projects in the field of IoT which I worked was that it was smart healthcare, smart agriculture, and wearable tech. So these three kinds of applications which I personally worked on, and I found it very beneficial for the society also. And if you talk in terms of like many people, many of you want to start a startup in these kind of fields. So these kind of ideas are very good and very useful, and it is not very difficult. I actually tell you, it is not very difficult. It's just about like you have should have that willpower, and you should just get a point to start. Once you start learning it, practicing it, you will learn more and more about IoT. If I talk about IoT, it is something that you take that particular hardware, work on it, and practice as much as you can, and you will see that you will learn more and more things. If I talk about still in the world, there are not very. If I talk about in India also, that there are not very big companies who are completely focusing and working on IoT, because still a lot of things is being developed day by day. So it might be possible that if you work on it now, so in some time you may develop something which is very new kind of thing, and it may be a new invention for this IoT sector also. So smart healthcare, so many kind of things have already been developed, like neck bands have been developed for the cancer patients, and we get the information and various kind of readings which doctor bands, and we have like chest bands also for the asthma patients, and the BP monitoring system. So these kind of bands have already been developed and used nowadays. Next, we come up like wearable tech. So many of us must be using various smartwatches and like fitness bands these days, in which you can see that they calculate the various steps you've taken, the calories you have burned, these kind of things. And some of these smartwatches also tell, on the basis of the reading they take, that how healthy you are, or what things you need to improve, what things you need to do to improve your health. The next thing is smart home. So smart home is something I think like if I talk about controlling your lights, fans, and other devices using your mobile phone. And the next thing is your CCTV cameras nowadays. And I tell you one interesting fact, that smart home is something the most basic and easiest project which a person starts with when he starts with learning IoT. But if we talk about real life application and implementation, we still do not have a lot of solutions available in the market, especially if I talk about India. So this is also one major sector which you can look and which you can work for, because this will, I think, in upcoming years, as you have told you that we need to make things and devices in which like it should be contactless and social distancing should be followed. So these things will boost. So if you start working now, you may get a prominent solution. You also may find out that why these things are not available. So I give you the most basic reason for this, that why it is not implemented in India, or specifically in India. The main reason is its cost. The cost of that particular home automation project is so high that people think that it's better that I should buy a normal LED light. Why should I spend 500 extra for that? So if you can build something affordable, surely it will be a hit product for you in the market, like especially in India, because people nowadays are also digitalizing in India also. So this would be a very good field if you start working on. The next thing is smart agriculture. So smart agriculture, if we go in states like Punjab, it is already being used. Big farms are using drones for the monitoring, and disinfectants are being sprayed using them. You have smart water pumps over there, which sends them alerts that okay, that's time to stop your water pump, or the water has been overflowed. So this is something which saves water also, and it also saves their time to go and switch off and on the particular water pump. And one of the most important thing is that these kind of sensors also help in collecting data, so according to which the agriculture scientists work on this, and they can see that how we can improve the health and better quality of the plants. So smart grid. So smart grid basically is that it started in India around 2015. The National Powerhouse Commission established a smart grid mission, National Smart Grid Mission. And if I talk about that, we are already in stage 3. That means many of the grids in India have already been converted to smart. So smart in the sense means that we can actually see all the readings on our system. And so what why it is helpful. So what happens if a particular line or a electricity line fails or there is a fault. So what happens is, okay, when it faults, then only you will see, okay, this has fault, you will complain, then a person will come to like try to fix it. But according to this, if a system falls or the grid fails, so immediately the operator knows, okay, this system has been down or this particular line has been down and we need to fix it. So this is something very good. And as I told you already, that predictive maintenance, which is used in many of the like countries. So if we can do this, so basically how it will help, if a particular transformer or a particular line is going to fail, you can predict it actually, and you can think how this will change the way we are utilizing the electricity in our country nowadays. Especially if we talk about the rainy season, there are so many electricity faults, and if you can monitor the health of that particular transformer and you can predict, okay, that this is going to fail if you didn't change it, then it would be helpful. And the authorities can act proactively and make it sure that it is fixed. Smart city. So smart city is nothing else. The combination of all the above applications together makes a city smart. So various, if I give you some examples, so traffic lights, and I already gave like e-challans are nowadays, like if you do, it is already, your number plate is already identified by the camera installed on the various places, and an e-challan has been sent if you like, try to break the traffic rules. So now, as I said, how to start. So, how to start means that how you should all learn IoT and where you can all start. Maybe it sound you so much futuristic and so much difficult, but actually I tell you it's very easy. So the one most common development board which you can use is NodeMCU. It is a totally open source platform, and it is a simple 8-bit microcontroller, and it has 11 digital pins and one analog pin. So this means that you can control 11 devices together using this particular board. So I think that is
हेलो
well enough to start with.
हाँ आप
And if I
सुनिए
give you some of the basic projects which
ठीक
you can
मैं
start in
मैंने
IoT,
पूछा
as I
था
told you that
स्क्रीनशॉट मैंने मैम ले लिया था
home automation,
पार्टिसिपेंट्स का
like to
था
control a
और कुछ
particular
बस इसका ख़त्म होने वाला है ये बस
light
आ गया ये
using this. That is very simple, and you can start learning it. This code might
ठीक
seem you very small, but it
ठीक
is very useful. And if I tell you that you can also use some of the AI algorithms in particular this particular board. So maybe it's a small 8-bit microcontroller, but very small AI algorithms can be used in this particular board also. So this is a very good thing, and the best platform I would suggest is to start with this particular board. The next thing comes is Raspberry Pi. So if your application involves like higher processing and involve the digital devices like cameras and these kind of things, then you should move to Raspberry Pi. So basically, it is a pocket-sized computer which you have in your hand, and it has a 1.5 gigahertz quad-core processor. And as you can see, this is a Raspberry Pi 4 on your screen, and it is available now in 1 GB, 2 GB, 4 GB RAM. So a 4 GB like a computer is available to you in your pocket, and you can use it anywhere and deploy the various solutions using this. So this is also a very useful like platform which you can use, and various projects like object detection and these kind of things you can do using this particular board. So now comes this NVIDIA Jetson Nano. So this is particular development board made by NVIDIA for the developers. So what it has like extra feature than that particular Raspberry Pi is that it has a GPU, a Maxwell architecture, which has 128 NVIDIA cores. So if you have more higher processing, like complex AI algorithms, and you are using solutions like computer vision and very complex algorithms you have, then this is a perfect solution for you, because this has a like a good processing power and it would be very beneficial for you. Maybe it's like it's quite costly than particular Raspberry Pi, almost double the price of an Raspberry Pi. But yes, if the application is very complex, then you should prefer this. So if you go back and what I have told you is that our IoT has four components. So basically, it was sensors, connectivity, the data processing, and then the GUI part. So I told you about the sensors and connectivities. So basically, you can see these all boards have Wi-Fi installed on it. So if you look over here also, so this has a Wi-Fi installed in it, and each and every board have a Wi-Fi and various connectivity options installed in them. So the next thing comes is the data processing, and data is sent to cloud. So these are the various cloud platforms which you can use. So to start with, you can go with ThinkSpeak because it takes simple information of various simple sensors like temperature sensors and humidity sensors. These kind of sensors it reading takes, and then you can simply visualize the readings. So you can plot various kind of graphs of that particular reading. So this is quite helpful and easy to use. The next one is Google Cloud Platform. So if you have more complex applications, like I told you, like a video feed, if you want, so you should go for these kind of platforms. You have like GCP by Google and AWS by Amazon. So they are almost similar, just different. And Google also introduced Google Firebase. So Firebase was something like made for the IoT applications only. So it has many pre-built AI algorithms already or APIs available. So what you can do is you can just use the sensor, collect the data, send to it. The algorithm is performed by this particular API, and you get the result. So if you are not very much interested into AI part, you can just go with the IoT part. And the other platform is IFTTT and Adafruit. So IFTTT is also something similar to ThinkSpeak, and Adafruit is also something similar to ThinkSpeak. So these are some simpler platforms, and IFTTT is very like if I tell you its full form, it's like if this then that. So that means if I give an example, like if you want to control your fan using your Google Assistant. So what it does is it gives you a connectivity option between your Google Assistant and your particular fan. So how will you connect it? You will put a development board and some sensors near your fan, and you will give instructions from your Google Assistant. So this is something a two-way communication, as I told you, that you can also send information from your front end. So now talking about the front end. The front end are two options like WebGUI and mobile application. So WebGUI, various things are available, HTML, CSS you can learn. And if we talk about mobile applications, so many of you think that okay, mobile application is something like we need to study in depth and then only we can make mobile applications. So that is not something is already available for the developers community, and that is something MIT App Inventor. So it was like made and developed by Google, but now it is totally maintained by Massachusetts Institute of Technology. So it is something which allows you to make mobile applications. And how you can make? You have to just like make it using drag and drop option. You have various puzzles and options and icons available. You just need to drag and drop, and you can create your mobile application. So this escapes your programming part. So if you are not from the programming field, you can just simply drag and drop and make your mobile applications. And in earlier stage of making a, if you are in an earlier stage of making a project, then this would be very helpful as you have a front end also to see, and later on you can just simply make it using some other platform. But it is totally free, and the kind of application it gives is .apk file, and you can simply install in your Android phones. So this would be very beneficial. So coming to an end, thank you. So if you all have any questions, you can just ask. If you have any questions or doubts, you can get connected to me through these links, and I would be ready and happy to help you all. If you have any kind of doubts regarding how to start or where you can learn these kind of things, or any project you want help, you can always contact me. If you have doubts, you can ask.
Hello.
Yes.
If you have any doubt, you can unmute yourself or use the chat box.
Okay, so here it comes that where we start to learn IoT. Okay, so see, like there are various options already available. So I would suggest you some of the websites where you can go and learn. That is Hackster.io. So if I okay, Hackster.io is a platform where you can learn. What happens is other developers make their project and just provide these kind of things on those platforms, and you can see what they have done, and you can just replicate it, and then later on uh, alter the things which they have done and see what are the results. And other platforms, like there is a discussion forum also of Arduino you all must be knowing, so you can use that also. And if I talk about other platforms, so if you go on things like ThinkSpeak and AWS and GCP, so they have well documented material available for your IoT application. So if you read it over there, you will find out that for your particular IoT project or application, you have a well documented thing available. You just need to see and apply that. It might be possible that you get some kind of errors, because what happens is each and everything keep on like uh, updating day by day. So it might be possible. Another way which I can tell you is, there you can install Arduino IDE in your laptops or systems, and you can install various kind of libraries. And when you install those libraries, there are there is a section over there of examples. So in that example section, you would find a lot of examples which you can just see and perform. So that is also something very beneficial. Yes, if you all want that, we could have a session that how should we learn IoT, or where to start, or give you something more like a practical thing and show you the demonstration. We can also have a later on session on this. I think Sushant, you can just take their feedback and let me know that if they are interested, we could have a next session also where they could learn these things.
Yes, after this session, they'll get an email for the feedback, and then we'll see to it.
Okay.
And there's a question for you in the chat box.
Okay, so what about your views on connecting IoT and electrical power systems? Okay, so basically, Manoj, that there are various sensors available already. So the most common one which we use is a relay. So a relay is a kind of sensor. What it does is it connects your Node MCU, which is a small development board, to the AC supply which you are having in your day-to-day life. You see, so that particular sensor is an intermediate between your the development board and the AC supply. So that you can that is the way, the most common way you interact with the electrical power systems. If I talk about, if you can note it down, relay, and you can see it, and it is, you can study about it. So that is the most common one which we use, and there are similar also more sensors available for higher power systems also. So if I talk about that, if I give you an example, that if you want that your IoT device should be connected to a transformer where you have 11,000 volts, so you cannot directly use a relay. So there are other things also which are used in between. So that are like various step down transformers are used, and the sensors are also different over there. So if you are interested in these kind of thing, I would suggest you should do one thing. You just see on the internet that how you should like light up a bulb using Node MCU. So you would find that is the most basic way you can interact with an electrical power system. I hope your doubt is cleared, Manoj.
Suraj,
Yes.
Suraj, I am Aparna, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Actually, I would like to say something. If anybody is having some doubts, so they can post their doubt through website, you know, or you have already mentioned your links, so they can
Okay, okay,
make connection to you. Right.
okay, okay,
Thank you
okay.
very much, Suraj. I think
Thank you so much, ma'am.
yes, yes. Please carry on.
Okay. So, any further doubts of anyone would like to ask?
We'll wait for 2 more minutes if we receive any doubts, and then we'll end the session.
Okay, okay.
That is, I want to say something. One thing also.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, if you have like if you're liking this session, so we can organize the same kind of webinars in the form of series also. So we can enhance the like type of delivery means and next session you will get a more okay of this
Yes,
session. So
ma'am.
please
So, like,
keep on posting.
yes, if they want something
Yes,
like hands-on practical sessions also, so we would be happy to deliver them hands-on session also, so they could
I
see
think
something
we
more
should
practical.
organize hands-on session also. Suraj,
Yes, ma'am.
we
Yes,
should
ma'am. Okay, okay.
organize a hands-on session also.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, please carry on.
So,
So
okay,
now,
okay. Any further doubts? Anyone if have, or we should end this session?
I
Okay, I
would like
think
to request.
Sushant, there are no further doubts.
Yes, I would like to request Kartika ma'am to end the session with a few words.
Hello everyone. Hope you're all doing well. Well, I, on behalf of the entire IEEE PSIT student branch and the organizing team, extend a very hearty vote of thanks to Mr. Suraj as well. Thank you, Suraj, for giving an
You're
excellent.
welcome, ma'am.
Thank you.
It
Thank you for
was
giving excellent, yeah, coverage in this introduction to IIT and smart robotics. And we've also been very fortunate to be assisted by our branch counselor, who's also the YUP section counselor, our very own IIT, Dr. Aparna Dixit. Thank you, ma'am, for being a constant
Yeah,
support and a source of encouragement for all of us.
thank you so much, ma'am.
I must not
Thank you
forget
to
the
all of you
students.
just making this session a fantastic session.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everybody.
I must
Okay,
not
Uh,
forget
you all
the
will receive.
students of the, yeah.
Okay, you all will receive an email shortly after this session, which will contain the process of getting the certificates and the feedback form. Please check your email. Okay. So,
Okay, thank you to all the participants for showing their interest in today's webinar and for making it a success, to the volunteers, to the organizing team, and once again, thanks to all of you for joining us today.
thank you, everybody. You can leave this session now.